Hi guys, Meg with TruVee here. Today we're going to be focusing on the ASVAB exam, which is the military placement test. I'm also in the U.S. Army National Guard. I have taken the ASVAB test myself, and we have many students that learn with TruVee, our online English education academy, to prep for their ASVAB exam. This test is super important for anyone who's joining the Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, and any other branch of the military because it allows you to be placed in a job that you really like. I have handcrafted a 10-class series for you to review before you take your ASVAB exam. There's a lot of things in there that maybe you haven't seen since high school, maybe you never even learned them. That's why we're creating this series. It's free for you online, and it's supposed to be supplemental to our online English classes, so I do highly recommend that you take part in those as well. Then we can cater it specifically to what you need to learn, making it even better. But to start, go ahead, watch this video and see what you think. We'll have a couple little quizzes throughout as we go, and I'll make it as interactive as possible so it's not one of those boring videos that you just see on the internet. We're going to make this really useful for you, really helpful. Okay, so today's lesson is broken into 5 main parts. Let me explain them. The first one is learning word roots, prefixes, and suffixes. We'll go over what those are. Then we'll move into context clues to determine different word meanings. Third, we're going to work on vocabulary and how to properly write flashcards. This is super important for you because as you're driving to your exam, you could be reviewing your flashcards, studying some different vocabulary words, prefixes, suffixes, root words. Very important. And then we're going to learn a bit about synonyms and antonyms. And then finally, we're going to wrap up with a paragraph of reading comprehension with a little quiz just to make sure that you understand all of those 4 main topics that we covered. All right, so let's get into part 1, which is learning word roots, prefixes, and suffixes. So we're going to review 4 main word roots. The first one is bene. B-E-N-E. It means good and well. If you speak Spanish as a native language, you would know muy bien, very similar. Or if you speak Portuguese, you have muito bom, very similar to bene. So you can think words like beneficial, benevolent, benefit. These all mean positive things. So on the exam, you might get a root word that says bene, like beneficial, and they may say, is this a positive word or negative? Just remember, bene means good. The next most common one that you'll see on the ASVAB exam is geo, G-E-O. This means earth. So you'll see words like geography, geology, and geothermal. Anytime you see geo, just think it's related to earth. Our next one, number 3, is odd, A-U-D. That means to hear or to listen, anything related to sound. So for those words, you have words like audio, audible, and auditory. All 3 of those are very important to know because you will be seeing some sort of root word, odd, at some point within the ASVAB exam. I can almost guarantee it. And then for our 4th one, we have scrib or script, S-C-R-I-B or S-C-R-I-P-T, which means to write. So some words that are an example is scribe, scripture, or transcribe. Those are all things related to writing, materials for reading, books. So those are the 4 most common root words, but now let's focus on prefixes. First of all, what are prefixes? That's what the word starts with. So, for example, U-N, like the words unhappy, untouchable, and unpredictable. That means not or opposite. So unhappy, that means you're not happy. Untouchable, it means you can't be. Touched just means not. So if you see un at the beginning of a word, it just means the opposite of what that word means. Super easy. All right, let's go over 3 more of the most common prefixes so you can kind of get familiar with them before your exam. Next, we have re, which means again or back. For example, revisit, rebuild, replay. Maybe sometimes when you're watching Netflix, you have to replay a part because you got distracted. That means you need to go back and watch it again. You redo it. You rewatch it. Third, we have pre, P-R-E. That means before. So you like preview, predict, or preemptive. So to preview, it means you look at it before preview. Super easy. And finally, we have dis, D-I-S, which means the opposite or not. So I dislike, or I disengage, or I distrust. So let's look at distrust. To trust means you're kind of believing something. If you distrust, it means that you don't believe it. Very simple, very easy to understand. So we've gone over word roots and prefixes. Now let's go over the last part, suffixes. Suffixes are very important because you will be seeing these a lot on your exam. And it's important to understand because if you don't know what a prefix and a suffix is, you're probably not going to be doing very well on your English comprehension part. A suffix that's very important is able, A-B-L-E. This means capable of. For example, readable, understandable, enjoyable. You're able to read it. It's readable. It's enjoyable. You're able to enjoy it. Very easy. The second suffix is ment, M-E-N-T. This is an action or a process. So government, development, deployment, enjoyment. It's a process. Anytime you see ment, it's some sort of action or a process. Next one is us, O-U-S. It means full of. So dangerous, curious, famous. It means you're full of fame. Dangerous, it means it's full of danger. There's a lot of it. It doesn't mean full of physically, like the glass is full of water. It means it's full of literally like a lot of something. Now I have an exercise for you. I have 4 words here, and I want you to identify the root, the prefix, and suffix in each. So the first word here is unbelievable. Let's identify the prefix with that, because it's at the beginning. The prefix, remember, is at the beginning of a word. That's un. And then belly, B-E-L-I-E, it means to kind of trust something, to believe. That's the root, belly. And then the suffix is going to be able, A-B-L-E. We learned that one before. Very simple, very easy. It means you can do something. So unbelievable. It means you can't believe it. You're able to not believe it. Next one, we have geothermal. So in this one, the root is going to be geo. What does that mean? Earth, geo. And then we have therm. Therm, what does that mean? Have you ever thought of like a thermostat in your house? Therm, it has to do with temperature. So geotherm, and then ul at the end is the suffix. So geothermal. It has something to do with heat and the earth. Next one, we have misunderstanding. So miss is the prefix. That means to kind of not notice something or to not understand something. Miss. And then the next one, understand. That's, you already know that word. And then the ending, ing, it's an action verb. Super easy. Misunderstanding. You don't understand it. And last one, we have readable. The prefix is re. So it means again or back, but in readable, the root is also read, which means to use your eyes to understand something. So now we have the suffix that's able, to be able to do something. You're capable of doing it. So if it's readable, you're able to read it. Very easy. All right, so that's it for part 1 of this lesson, which was prefixes, suffixes, and root words. I gave you the 4 most common prefixes, 4 most common suffixes, and the 4 most common root words. So if you have any confusion about that, go back and review it. I will also be sure that we attach a link to a PDF form of all of this, so you're able to follow along if you'd like. That will be down in the comments. All right, let's move on to part 2. Okay, so now we're going to work on using context clues to determine different word meanings. So what I'm going to do is read off a sentence to you, and I'm going to have you try and use your context clues to understand what specific words mean. The soldier was stalwart in his resolve, never wavering in his determination to complete the mission. So our word in this sentence is going to be stalwart. Stalwart. Take a look at the sentence here. And look at some words that are around stalwart. We've got resolve, never wavering, determination. What do all these 3 things mean? Kind of similarly. What's the vibe? Is he weak or is he strong? The meaning of stalwart is strong, firm, and unwavering. So if we take a look at these three words, chances are you know the word determination. I feel like everyone kind of knows that one. Never wavering. If you think like a flag waves in the wind, like it's kind of moving side to side, he never does that. And then resolve, you don't even need to know what that one means. You can kind of just get the idea from all the things. And to resolve something means you like work to fix something. So if you do know what that means, all three of them mean strong, firm, or unwavering. Never wavering, unwavering. That's the meaning of stalwart. Let's go over another sentence. The word in this one is tumultuous. The tumultuous waves crashed against the shore, causing the ship to tilt dangerously to one side. What are some words here that you see that are similar to one another? We have waves, crashed, and tilt dangerously. So the meaning of tumultuous is disorderly, stormy, or turbulent. It just means kind of like difficult, crazy, disorderly, not very consistent. So the tumultuous waves, the crazy big waves. Okay, so now we're going to go through some sentences. I'm going to read them off, and I'm going to have you kind of fill in the blank of what these words mean. Slightly different from before. We're not going to use those context clues. I'm not going to give you the answers. I want you to figure it out with your own context clues. The first word that you need to define is benevolent. Here's the sentence. The teacher's benevolent nature made her a favorite among students. So benevolent means to show kindness and generosity. So if you said something about giving, kindness, something that makes her positive, that would have been your clue. The next one is lengthy. After a lengthy discussion, the team agreed on the best course of action. After a lengthy discussion, the team agreed on the best course of action. So some clues are discussion and agreed. Lengthy means long, after a very important, very long discussion. All right, and the last one of this part 2 is the word pristine. Let me read the sentence. The pristine condition of the museum exhibits impressed all the visitors. The pristine condition of the museum exhibits impressed all the visitors. Some clues are condition and impressed. Pristine. It means very clean, very perfect, high level condition, well maintained. If something is impressive, you're like, wow, that's amazing. So pristine would mean very clean and well maintained. Okay, that's it for part 2. You're halfway done with this ASVAB part 1 review. And this part 1 review has 5 main components, but we're halfway done with the learning part. Let's move on to part 3. This one's pretty quick. We're going to practice some common vocabulary words through different exercises, and I'm going to teach you how to properly write flashcards. That way you're able to do this on your own time. That way when you're driving to your ASVAB exam, when you're just sitting in bed at night scrolling on Instagram, stop for 10 minutes and review these flashcards, because I guarantee it will help you get the job that you want within the military services. So how you're going to do the flashcards is like this. You have the front of the card, and you're going to say the name of the word. So for example, the words eloquent. And then on the back side of the card, you're going to put the definition. So the definition for eloquent is going to be fluent or persuasive in speaking or writing. Fluent or persuasive in speaking or writing. And then on the bottom of the back of the card, I want you to put an example sentence. For example, with the word eloquent, you could say, the general gave an eloquent speech that motivated the troops. That's a great example of how to use flashcards. Now, I'm going to quickly list off 4 very common words that you will see on your ASVAB exam, and I want you to make flashcards with them. You can do it now and pause the video, or you can do it another time. The first one is imminent. IMMINENT. That means something is about to happen. If I'm going too fast, please pause the video. Number 2 is pragmatic, which means practical or realistic. Number 3 is disparage. It means to speak negatively about. Number 4 is altruistic, which means showing selfless concern for others. For example, he was a very altruistic person. She was disparaged about the state of her home. I find it very pragmatic the way that you speak. And it's imminent that the storm is coming rapidly. Those are all example sentences for those 4 main words. Please write them on flashcards and review them. Moving on to part 4, identifying synonyms and antonyms. So synonyms are words that have similar meanings, and antonyms, if you can use your context clues, which we learned in part 2, you may think antonyms are words that have opposite meanings. And if you thought that, you're correct. So let's go over the synonyms to start. Here are 4 really common synonyms that you're going to see. First, we have happy. Here's some other words that mean happy. Joyful, cheerful, content. Next one, quick. We have fast, rapid, and swift. I love the word swift. That's a really good one. And next, we have important, which means significant, crucial, and vital. And lastly, we have strong, which means sturdy, resilient, and tough. So those are 4 very common synonyms. Honestly, you're going to see them in everyday life anyways, so you might as well learn them for your own sake. Now we have 4 of the most common antonyms on the ASVAB exam. We have happy is the main one, which we just did synonyms, but now let's do the opposite. What's the opposite of happy? Sad, unhappy, or miserable. We have quick, but what's the opposite of quick? Slow, sluggish, delayed. We have important, but what's the opposite of important? Unimportant, insignificant, or trivial. Lastly, we have strong, which is weak, fragile, or delicate, the opposite of. So now we've got some exercises. I've got 4 quizzes for you to take. What is the synonym for quick? I give you 5 seconds. It's fast. What is the antonym for important? Trivial. What is the synonym for sad? It's miserable. And what is the antonym for strong? It's weak. So now you've made it to part 5. We are finally wrapping up all the concepts that we learned in parts 1 through 4 of this first video of the ASVAB study review. Let's move on to our reading passage. We're going to do some reading comprehension at a large scale level, similar to what you're going to see on the exam. This passage is taken from a past example exam, so it's very close to what you're going to be experiencing. The general addressed the troops with a firm but encouraging voice. His words were clear and precise, and the soldiers felt a renewed sense of purpose. Though the task ahead was daunting, the general's confidence was infectious, and the soldiers stood taller as they readied themselves for battle. The first question I have for you is, what was the general's tone when speaking to the troops? You have your 3 options there on the screen. The answer is A, firm and encouraging. Next question. How did the soldiers feel after the general's speech? Again, you have your 3 options there. The answer is C, a renewed sense of purpose. And 3, what made the soldiers feel confident? Out of your 3 options there, this one is going to be B, the general's infectious confidence. So the soldiers felt confident because the general felt confident. So now we've got one more reading passage for you before we part ways. The sky darkened quickly as the storm clouds gathered. The wind began to pick up, howling through the trees while the rain started in a steady, relentless downpour. By the time the storm reached its peak, the streets were flooded and the entire town was at the mercy of nature's fury. Question 1. What caused the sky to darken? The sun setting, storm clouds gathering, or nightfall? Well, it's definitely not 1 because They didn't mention the sun setting. They talked about the storm clouds gathering. And then C is the same as A, nightfall. So it's not that. So it's B, the storm clouds gathering. Number 2, what was the weather like during the storm? Was it calm and peaceful? Was it windy, rainy, and intense? Or was it mild with little precipitation? Essentially, what vibe did you get from this paragraph? Did you get that it's just kind of like a little drizzle outside, or did you see that it was bright and sunny, or did you see that it was windy, rainy, dramatic? I'd say it seemed pretty intense, so I'd go with B. Windy, rainy, intense. All right, third question. What impact did the storm have on the town? Did it cause a lot of excitement in the town? Were the streets flooded? Or did it not do anything? Well, first of all, we read about it doing something, so it's not C. And then it definitely didn't cause a lot of excitement because we didn't really read about the people. We read nothing about personal emotion, so we can't say it's that one. The streets were flooded. Yes, it literally says straight up in the paragraph, the streets were flooded. That's an easy answer for you. So your answer would be B. We have wrapped up our part 1 of our 10-part series of the ASVAB study session. We want you to succeed so you can get the best career path possible within the United States Armed Forces. And if you have any questions for us, please comment below. We would love to help you out more. We've added the PDF file to the caption below. You can download it right from there. We have part 2 coming up very soon, so we can't wait to share that with you. So make sure you're reviewing part 1 significantly and you're studying as much as you can, because the more you study, the better the career path you are going to have within the US military. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day, and please subscribe to TruVee for more ASVAB and English study tips. Have a great day. Bye.